Calaroga Shark Media.
Hello and welcome to Palace Intrigue. I am your host, Mark Francis. After a week of good press for Prince William, some corners are wondering if the monarchy should stay out of politics. In the Daily Mail, Richard Kay writes, Prince William is by some distance the most popular member of the royal family, and when his stylish wife Catherine is at his side, these approval ratings soar even higher. This popularity is fused by two inherited and diametrically opposed characteristics: the caution of his grandmother, the late Queen Elizabeth, and the impulsive instincts that came so naturally to his much-missed mother, Princess Diana. From time to time, there have been the odd lapse of judgment, but broadly, unlike his brother Harry, William pauses to think before he speaks. The impassioned plea on the war in Gaza suggests that in this battle between heart and head, the dominating influence has shifted suddenly and dramatically in the late princess's favour. In a few short words, presented on an arresting black background, William offered a view of the conflict that strayed perilously close to entering a political and diplomatic minefield. His deeply emotive language, even in the darkest hour, we must not succumb to the counsel of despair, and his determination to cling to the hope that a brighter future can be found, will clearly appeal to a younger demographic, many of whom support the Palestinians. Yet this approach is fraught with peril. Almost inevitably, the statement provoked immediate hostility online. If ever he needed the steady-as-you-go approach of the late Queen, it was surely on the most intractable problem in geopolitics, the Israel-Palestine question. And yet here he was, striding into the international arena with a statement that swiftly made headlines around the world for the wrong reasons. Friends say that, like so many of us, William has not been immune to the terrible pictures and videos emerging from Gaza since Israel began its operation to eradicate Hamas. I am told he also wants to move away from the mere platitudes that are the typical stuff of royal statements. If this is so, we are heading for dangerous uncharted waters. With the king incapacitated, what William does and says are necessarily subject to additional scrutiny. How ironic that only a few years ago all the talk before he came to the throne was of Charles being hell-bent on reigning as a meddling monarch. Instead, he has been a model of prudence and good sense, and it is William whose judgment is being questioned. Rosa Silverman in The Telegraph writes, regardless whether his comments on Gaza were seen as a mistake or inspired soft power, the stakes were high for the Prince of Wales. In Britain's constitutional monarchy, the royals are expected, by and large, to keep well out of politics, and mostly they do. Even on matters of immense national importance, the late Queen Elizabeth II was scrupulous in making no public comment that would place her on either side of an argument. So when Prince William made his public intervention this week on the war in Gaza, the stakes were undeniably high. Few recent foreign conflicts have proved quite so polarizing here, and the prince's decision to weigh in was always going to be fraught with risk. But was it the ill-conceived blunder some have suggested, or was it rather an inspired and heartfelt effort to voice what so many are feeling? Arguably, he also follows in those of his late mother, Princess Diana, whose call in 1997 for a global ban on landmines was controversial at the time. It appeared she was backing a Labour policy, and yet few today would call it wrong-headed. In braving the backlash as his mother did, the prince could be doing himself a favour in the long run. The latest YouGov polling last week showed that 2/3 of the British public want Israel to call a ceasefire and be prepared to enter into peace negotiations with Hamas. In a social media age when almost every public figure is expected to have an opinion, it's perhaps increasingly untenable for younger royals in particular to remain above the fray. Royal commentator Ingrid Seward added, his father as head of state can't say anything, but William can, and it all had government clearance, so good for him. He will have known he would get criticised and is obviously prepared to take the flak. Palace Intrigue will be right back. King Charles expressed being deeply moved by the outpouring of support he has received following his cancer diagnosis, revealing that the kind messages and cards have often brought him to tears. Despite stepping back from public appearances to focus on his treatment, he conducted his weekly meeting with the Prime Minister Rishi Sunak and convened with the Privy Council to discuss government matters. The 75-year-old monarch, donning a navy suit and tie, shared a light-hearted moment with Sunak before their official discussion at Buckingham Palace. It's all done by mirrors, Charles humorously remarked on his appearance, to which Sunak responded with encouragement, noting that the nation's support was firmly behind the king. Charles' heartfelt reaction to the support he has received underscores the deep connection between the monarchy and the people. The United Kingdom is set to introduce its first banknotes bearing the portrait of King Charles this summer, marking a historic update to the nation's currency. From June the 5th, the new design will feature on the 5, 10, 20 and £50 Parliament notes, while banknotes depicting the late Queen Elizabeth II will continue to be recognised as legal tender. King Charles' likeness will grace the front side of these notes and will also be visible in the transparent security window, symbolising the transition in the monarchy. The reverse side of the banknotes will retain its current celebrated figures, including Winston Churchill on the £5 note, Jane Austen on the 10, J.M.W. Turner on the 20, and Alan Turing on the £50, adhering to the colour schemes and patterns introduced with the Polymer series in 2017. The Bank of England has announced that the introduction of the new notes featuring King Charles will be a gradual process. They will start circulating as the older notes need replacement due to wear and tear. This move sees King Charles becoming only the second monarch to be depicted on the country's banknotes, continuing the tradition of featuring the reigning sovereign on the currency. Patrick J. Adams, known for his role alongside Meghan Markle in Suits, has admitted to feeling intimidated at the thought of reaching out to the Duchess. The Canadian actor who portrayed Meghan's on-screen partner for 7 years shared his apprehensions with Radio Times, expressing concern over navigating the boundaries that have formed since their time on the show. Reflecting on their past connection, Adams revealed, "After our children were born, there were some texts sent and gifts sent, but I guess I'm a little scared. I think it's pure fear." And there you have it. If you'd like to email us, our address is thepalaceintrigue@gmail.com. Please follow us on Apple, Spotify, or your app of choice. If you're on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. It all helps us out. I'm Mark Francis. My thanks to John McDermott. This is Palace Intrigue. Good times.